All right, let's get it.
Well, everyone, welcome back to a very exciting episode of the Storybox podcast. Today, my friends, I'm delighted to welcome three individuals that form an awesome band on the rise. It's going to be absolutely massive. It kind of reminds me of Blink-182, to be honest with you, one of those awesome bands. See, they're doing the finger signs. I know they love it. The names are Thomas, Phillip, and Alex. They form the band called Lip Candy. They have amazing songs. They have a new song, which is entitled If You Stay Home. Their other songs are entitled Hate to See You Go, Bleed, and All for Nothing. Boys, it's amazing to have you on the Storybox podcast. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks to be here.
It's an honor.
It's great to have you guys here. I love people in the creative industry because I am a creative myself. I don't know if you can tell by looking at my back wall. I'm a filmmaker. Well, I was a filmmaker, and I really have a massive appreciation for people in the creative space. Before we dive into your backstories, because I know I'm going to have to try and navigate this the best way, I need to ask you guys to introduce yourself. Can you please share your names to the audience so they know who you are?
Yeah, so my name is Thomas, and I sing and play guitar in Lip Candy.
All right, I'm Phillip. I just play bass guitar in Lip Candy.
And I'm Alex. I play the drums, and we all do a little bit of singing too.
Yeah.
Epic, guys, epic. Well, my official question for you guys to start off this convo is, what does success look like for you guys? We'll start with Thomas first.
I would say success to us definitely would be if we're all happy what we're doing and we feel like fulfilled by what we're doing. And I also think it also can be defined by if the band can like run itself financially. Like if we can live off just the band, I think that's a good mark to say if we've made it or not. Because, you know, we don't necessarily want to have mansions and nice cars and everything. But if we can just pay our bills just from the band and not have to have side jobs, I would consider that making it.
Let me come back to that. So all right. How about for you?
Yeah, I mean, I want to say I think, you know, I'm in agreement with what Thomas said. You know, it really is just kind of a mixture of just both, you know, personal feeling you're own satisfied with your own work, which I think will come with our own, you know, be able to be fully sustainable through only music. A little personal to myself is that I want to play shows. I love, no matter the size of the capacity, no matter if it's one person, it could be just the sound guy, man. Like, I just love being able to perform to someone who they don't have to like my music, but the energy is there. And it's something that I strive for and I love.
Yeah.
How about for you, Alex?
For me, I think it's a matter of perspective. Success on the one hand is like, it's that thing that kind of drives us to do more. Like, you know, yeah, let's sell out arenas. Let's, you know, live in these mansions. That is, you know, one view of success. But right now, I would consider us like very successful. Like, we've been able to all move out here, live together, and play shows. And for me, like, I know looking back on this moment, no matter where I am in 10 years, 20 years, I would consider this like we've made it.
I love all three of your definitions. They kind of, for me, it's inspiring because you guys do have what a lot of people would class as semi-fame, or you're on the rise. And I think you guys are going to be really, really big one day. So having the kind of mindset early on is, I believe, needful, because fame can just sort of take you in crazy places, can it? Like, so I want to ask you guys, how did you first come up with this mindset for yourself? Like, it's a very humble outlook. And I mean, I think, Phillip, you were just saying a moment ago, you know, if you just play to one person, they don't even have to like your music. I mean, we hope that they like your music, but even if you just play to one person, like, that's unfortunately, it's not a very common character trait in a lot of people. So where did that all come from for you guys?
Yeah, I would say it stems just from the passion of what we do, you know, like that kind of mindset gets framed, you know, from the fact that we just love that feeling of being on stage in front of people. And I think that's what drives us, you know, and so at the end of the day, if we get to just do that, it doesn't matter if we're getting a check for $100,000 after the show or a check for $1,000 after the show. It's, obviously people would prefer one over the other, but yeah, it just comes from that feeling that, that's what drew us all together as a band. So
yeah, I mean, we kind of formed in New Orleans as just a small three-piece playing like, dingy bars in front of just a handful of people. And that's not like, our energy is not that. Our energy is not of a band playing in a small dive bar. It's, super high energy because we don't really care about, being watched. We care about performing. We don't really need people to see us because we're going to perform regardless, because that's what we're here for, the creation, not like the viewing.
My own personal, my personal thing is that, I just, and COVID was a huge factor in this because I always knew from from the second I heard, a rock song, right, in my dad's radio, like I was like, okay, this is something. And I've come to this conclusion that I can't do anything else. I can work a job, sure, but I'm not going to feel personally driven to put in the time, to put in the work, to put in all that stuff, because frankly, it's like we've already come, this far. I don't consider us, we've had a couple lucky times, but it's all because of the work that we, consistently have tried to just put in to make this a reality. So it's very humbling that we can play a show with more than just one person in it, because, we've just put so much into it. Yeah.
This is really refreshing for me. You have no idea. So I want to ask you guys, like the passion that you have for playing on stage, where did that all spark for you? Were you guys really, really young when it all happened? Or has it sort of like, did you guys adopt it later on in life?
For me, that first adrenaline rush, I wasn't even on stage. I was in, I used to take guitar lessons when I was about 12, and it was one of my first guitar lessons ever. And I'll never forget the feeling of turning on the overdrive while holding an electric guitar. It can't be. I was maybe 12. I had an electric guitar in my hand. I maybe knew like 3 chords, and I had this really awesome teacher. And I was like, so what happens if I press this? And he looks at me and goes, you want to find out? And he presses like the overdrive on the amp, and just, I can't forget it. That was like my initial first adrenaline rush.
There's something about volume, because like I would play the drums and I was like, oh, cool. Like when I was 10 or 11, and then I played on stage, and just hearing how loud and how commanding I was on stage, I was like, oh my God. Yeah. Like I have so much control right now. Right. And I felt like that energy, like something about just the sheer volume gives you so much energy to do whatever.
For me, it's almost like a reverse psychology thing. Cause when I first jumped up on stage, I was taking guitar lessons. My little brother, who's like around half my age in terms of years, I had him jump on drums. We did a whole Blues Brothers thing for our recital. It was absurd. But like I could hear my family in the crowd just like being super happy. Couldn't see any of them. So I felt so like super good because of like, I felt for some reason super not self-conscious. I was like, screw it. And I started running around, like doing stuff that like was not allowed. Like I did like a slide. It was like, what's going on here? And it was from that point, I was like, oh, game over. Yeah.
You're just enjoying yourselves and having a great time, which, honestly, that should be said for everyone on stage. I mean, if you want to really be the very best, I honestly believe it. If you want to be the best at something that you're really passionate about, just go out there and have fun. Like, doesn't matter if you get like praise or not praise. I mean, we want the praise, but that also helps. But even if you don't get it, just go out there and give it your all. I mean, Matthew McConaughey said, don't half-ass it. Like, just give it your absolute best. So, which sounds like you guys are doing a fantastic job of it. I mean, you guys have got incredible songs. I was listening to them. I mean, the one for me that I vibe with the most was your new one, If You Stay Home. So I will get to that in just a moment. I think I'm getting ahead of myself. But just to give the audience a little bit of context, how did you guys come together and form the band Lip Candy. My second question is, who came up with the name Lip Candy?
So we all met in college in New Orleans, and I was always running into these guys. I was always seeing him at other shows, and he was also a music lover. He was playing backup guitar for just a couple other people, it just kind of happened naturally. We just all met, and we all liked the same kind of music, and it was just kind of electric. Like the second we started playing shows together, we kept getting offered more and more and more, and people started coming more. And I think it's because of what we talked about earlier, how we all just like love performing no matter what. And it was honestly just a natural occurrence. Really, it was kind of written in stars, I guess.
Yeah, kind of lucked out like at finding people who had the same energy on stage. Been in a few bands where it's just kind of shoegaze and vibing, and there's no problem with that, but I mean that's where my heart is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, going crazy.
Yeah. And so for the band name, I came up with it before the band actually formed. I kind of had the name already. It came to me this summer going into college, and I was just I always get different responses from this, but I thought of the term eye candy, and I just started replacing it with different body parts. and I hit lip, and then I don't know, I just really liked it. I thought it had a really good ring to it, and I thought it had a bunch of different meanings that you could pull, and it kind of had a playful, but also kind of like rock, so I had a poppy side and a rock side to it. I just think there's so much that comes with that name, and I just liked it. And whenever I tell it to people, they seem to remember it. So
yeah, it's a catchy name. You can't forget it.
Yeah.
Like Lip Candy. I mean, we've all got lips, and everyone I think loves candy. So so why start a band in the first place? Why not go out and do your own, like go solo, for example?
I've just always loved the idea of being in a band, like having that journey with other people.
Collaboration.
Yeah.
If we moved out here, not to interrupt, but like if I had moved out, if any one of us, I feel like, maybe more so me and Alex, I'd have more faith in Thomas, but I feel like if I moved out here alone and I had nobody to like kind of use those building blocks to build on top, to keep each other getting up and in the morning and putting in the work, I'm blessed for it, really, because we're keeping each other in check, excuse me. Like, and it's dope.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. We do kind of.
There's that accountability there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you guys sort of manage who does what within the band? Like, do you all come up with ideas together? How do you manage, okay, I agree on this idea. I don't agree on this idea, because it's three of you. I mean, it's not like, how do you guys manage that?
I would say we just kind of communicate openly, and our biggest thing, especially now that we're living together, this is the first time we've all lived together. It's just open communication. If you like something, say it. If you don't like something, say it. Just be completely honest, and that way everybody feels heard, and everybody's opinions, they get shared. And we haven't really disagreed on too much so far.
I think it's funny that we've been in a band for a while, but now we're all
just
roommates.
Together, right?
Yeah. And so like we need to, like, if we have a roommate disagreement, that is a lot more than just a roommate disagreement.
Yeah.
And we have faith in this band, and we want to go far. So like,
but if
someone's got to buy the toilet paper.
I feel like,
I
feel like at the same time, because we all are in the band, we like give benefit of the doubt, we'll be more apt to hearing that side. Cause it's like, okay, this is my drummer here. I can't just like, not acknowledge that,
coworkers too.
I love it. So I normally ask this question to creative individuals, and I'm curious to hear your response to it as well. But what do you think it means to be creative, or what does creativity mean to you?
I think it's about honesty, and it's about being as real as you can. Because I think that's a big battle that everybody, especially people who move to like Los Angeles for stuff like this, it's so easy to really second guess and be like, is the audience going to like this, or who's going to like this? Or, like, how is this going to look on the gram, and right. I think it's it's just about being completely honest with your art. And I think the more honest it is, the more like people can tell if it is or not. And I think that's a battle that we all have to fight, because, it is smart to think about like, how appealing is this going to be to the masses? But at the same time, like, you can't lose yourself in that. So I would say that's one of the biggest meanings to being a true creative.
Yeah, I'd say like in 2 words, organic expression, just like very true to yourself, putting something that's out there that you personally attach yourself to, whether it's a tattoo on your body or an actual piece of deliverable art, whether it's a picture or music, whatever it is,
Yeah.
Agree?
Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
It is a very vulnerable space, I guess, being a creative. And I think I love what you said, Thomas, and just being honest with yourself. Have you ever doubted? Like, have you had those moments of doubt? And what do you do in those moments of doubt?
I definitely, that was a big thing I had to overcome. And I think we've all felt the same way. Especially when COVID hit and we really could only take to social media to interact with people. Being in front of a camera all the time can definitely mess with your head in that sense. And sometimes you definitely feel like you have to put on a face. And especially when it was COVID and we were shooting maybe like 5 TikToks a day, you feel like you have to smile all the time, and you feel like you have to, have a certain image. And I think, when you are like genuinely wanting to smile, like, and that's dope. But I mean, I think I've been afraid in the past to be honest with how I'm actually like feeling and things that I feel like doing and saying. And so I think that's definitely a battle that I'm still fighting it, but I definitely have made progress on that. So yeah, that's a big thing for me.
How about for you, Phil?
There's been all sorts of different types of doubts, I'm so blessed for this journey that we've all been a part of. But there's been different types of doubts, as far as, are we going to play this set clearly tonight to where we can make, a few new fans or even have a good show, to doubts as large as things that we would never even think of. Like, am I ever going to be able to play an actual show again? Mm-hmm. There's a whole lot going on. There was a lot of doubt. When we first moved out here, we literally packed up all of our bags like a week after graduating college, and we just drove. And it was crazy because we left all of our friends behind. We'd had a solid, when you think about it, could have lived a life there, right? If it wasn't for a band, if it wasn't for something that we had already committed ourselves to before we'd even met any of those people, we could have easily stayed there, but instead we jumped it. We did the thing, and because we love it, and that was scary, but yeah, it definitely is paying off. I'll tell you, this has been a crazy past few months here, and it's lovely every day of it.
Yeah, you just got to remember like why you're here or why you're doing what you're doing in the larger scheme. Because I've been doubtful, about a lot of things, like moving across country, and literally be doubtful about anything just comes down to, well, I moved across country for this, so
yeah, we're here now.
We're gonna make this work.
Yeah.
Okay.
No turning back.
Yeah.
I think you guys raise a very important point on dealing with the doubt, and obviously going back to your why, but also facing, I guess, imposter syndrome, because that is so easy to do, especially for creatives, because once again, going back to that vulnerable side. So it's a part of you. And I think there's 3 of you that are all putting yourselves out there to the world and saying, here is part of us. Do you like us? And I think it's so easy, once again, for people to judge, to ridicule, to make you say, oh, this work sucks, all that sort of stuff. So I wanted to go down the path of mental health for a moment, if that's okay. So what do you guys do on any given day to keep your mental health solid or sound?
For me, it's I think exercise helps a lot. I run almost every morning, and when I go a few days without running, I just I feel like there's something I need to release, because when I'm sweating and I'm putting in that work, and I'm breathing, if running forces you to breathe deeply and breathe, a lot. And I think that is a very, that's something that a lot of people don't think about, is when you just like stop, breathe, remind yourself it's going to be okay. So exercise, huge thing for me. I like to reflect a lot and think about what I'm grateful for, because when I don't do that for, a few days in a row, it's easy to kind of be like, oh, well, why hasn't this happened for us yet? Or, what's you focus on what you don't have. And that's a terrible thing to do, especially as an artist.
And it's so easy to do, isn't it?
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I would have to say definitely exercise is a large component. I don't run as much as Thomas does. I typically do actual weight oriented, training, resistance training. But, as of late, I've just, for some reason, I don't know what it is, but whenever I make myself a meal or I've got food on the table, that's the time where I stop and I'm like, whoa. Let me wrap this up for a second. I'm in LA with my band, food on the table, roof over my head, word, and that seems to be doing a lot. I need to definitely make more of mental health a priority. I can totally admit that though. I'm working on it.
Because we're working all the time.
Yeah.
We either work our day job or we work our other day job.
Yeah.
Like we're just constantly working. For me, it's just like taking a breather and being alone. I'm like a huge extrovert. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but like I always need to be around people and talking to people, even if I don't look like the most exuberant person, until I can't do it anymore. Cause we're also like, I'm a server. So I'm constantly performing at shows. I'm constantly performing. We're having 24/7 band meetings pretty much because we live together.
Yeah.
So for me, it's just like the other day I had a stressful day. And so I just drove into the night because we're in LA. I just drove to the middle of nowhere just so I could see the stars and just be alone, breathe, look up, and just like everything else kind of fades away. And I could just be like, this is me. This is where I am. Let's go back into the world. Let's breathe into the world.
Yeah.
Because there's so many stressful things that I just need to like take off my shoulders for a second. And then I like, okay, I'll put them back on knowing I can handle it.
I mean, it's a lot. Yeah. I mean, I'm seeing a therapist, on top of all that, I see, I have to see a therapist because, I need to, at least vent out something that isn't, going to burden them entirely. I mean, there's some things, but, those day-to-day frustrations with jobs and stuff, like, I'm a very big advocate of, especially because therapists now are just all online. You don't have to go, you don't have to actually go see a therapist and,
I completely appreciate you guys sharing that, because I think it's important for my listeners and even your audience to know that, yes, you guys are the talent, but you're also humans. You are still doing what you love. But at the end of the day, we're so focused on, winning or getting to the place that we want to get to that we kind of don't really focus on the here and now sometimes, or you were saying, Phil, about being just grateful, like that moment of, wow, I'm here with my friends, my band, I got food on the table, I'm able to survive. I can also relate to you, Thomas, in the running factor. That also helps just unwind. And even for you, Alex, there's been times where I've just got into my car and driven and haven't like stopped driving for a while. And I don't play any music in that moment. Like I just turn everything off. Completely silent, still, and I just want to think and just be as present as I possibly can. And I think that's very, very useful, because mental health, especially in this industry, is so, so important. So I appreciate you guys being vulnerable there and sharing what you guys do to help avoid that and not get into the state of burnout, because I don't want that for you guys at all. I think you guys you're gonna hit it big, and you're gonna hit it big very, very soon. So
thank you,
thanks,
man.
Yeah,
appreciate it.
We'll see what happens. Thank you.
I'm excited for you guys. I really am, like, because your music for me now, I don't know if you can take this. You can take it with a grain of salt all you want, because I don't have a really musical bone in my body, but I appreciate the art and the medium. But One of my favorite bands growing up was Blink 182. And the moment I started listening to your music, it kind of reminded me of that, with a different spin, obviously, with your own unique blend. You've got a new song out called If You Stay Home. Can you share with me the inspiration behind that song in particular? And just share the story behind it, really.
Yeah. So that song is just basically expressing, especially when the pandemic hit, you didn't know how long you were going to have to stay home for. And, we didn't know if it was going to be years until we saw a stage again. And I think it's just, it was, when all that was hitting hard, when COVID was really at its peak, we just wanted kind of like a dreamy song to just help escape from feeling trapped. And it was kind of just romanticizing the idea of just breaking out your window, leaving, and just living life. And, the last lyric in the chorus is, there's something out there somewhere waiting, but we'll never know if you stay home. And it's basically just a summary song about, finally getting out and living your life, because, for a year and a half, you couldn't really do that. So that's basically the song.
How long did it take for you guys to create the song? Was it a long process or was it a short one?
No. So we actually tracked it in just a couple of days back in, I think it was May of 2020 when we tracked it. And we actually had the help of some amazing songwriters come up with that. One of them, his name's Scott Simons. I think he's actually he's the in-house pianist for America's Got Talent. Super cool working with him on that. It didn't take long at all for us to track it. And it's funny because when we tracked it, when it was finally done, we thought we were going to put it out that summer, summer. It was May of 2020. And, just due to several reasons, we just ended up not releasing it and holding on to it. And honestly, I'm glad we waited, because I think it made so much more sense to put it out this summer, because now that COVID is finally somewhat ending, at least over here,
restrictions are being lifted.
Yeah.
Worse.
Finally now that things are looking more hopeful, I think it made a lot more sense to put it out this summer. And I think it definitely would have, it resonated so much more to people this summer than it would have had we released it last summer. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So what would you say has been the most challenging or the most difficult song for you guys to write and get out there into the world?
Honestly, probably some of the unreleased stuff we have right now.
Yeah. We've had some very difficult things. Well, it depends on how you define difficult, because we've had some times in the studio where we have a very difficult time writing a song, and then we finally get used to it, and then we come back to it a few hours later and we're like, we're never releasing this. This is awful. Like, this is never going to see the light of day.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know. There are moments of doubt, but giving yourself some space. But yeah, definitely the unreleased stuff.
Yeah, that was we all have our system in the studio, and we all work individually in different ways sometimes. And this was one of the first times in a while that we were all in the studio together, because we, due to COVID, we hadn't really had a chance to all go together. And it was kind of working out the kinks of working together again, because it had been so long. And towards the end, we were in the studio for 4 days. And so towards the end, we definitely found our rhythm. But that first day out of those 4 days, just garbage, just garbage. We wrote, I think, 3 different ideas.
All of them. 3 different choruses of different songs, like fully tracked out.
Yeah. And then we went and got something to eat, chilled for a minute, came back to the studio, and then we played them all. And we were just like, what is this?
Next day we go in, like 20 seconds in, we just bang out a riff.
Yeah.
We just make a 6 songs.
Yeah. There's also that pressure of like we recorded these first batch of songs, all these singles, like a while ago before COVID, and all this time has passed. And then we've gained this momentum on social media and at shows. And now we're at this point where it's like, okay, we have to build upon this, but we also can take this time to kind of redefine or hone in on our sound. Mm-hmm. And so definitely the first day in the studio, there was this pressure of like, what what is lip candy? Like, what is our sound?
Right.
And we were kind of trying to figure that out. And then we pretty quickly, fortunately, found something.
We found it. We found something.
Yeah. It goes back to the building blocks aspect, like, because there's all three of us here, like when it comes to just the original creation of a song, like typically when somebody plays a riff and everybody goes, what was that? Like, that means like, okay, like we should probably use that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As opposed to just one person just kind of fooling around.
Yeah.
So sorry.
You go, Alex, you go.
All that is to say, look out for unreleased stuff.
Get excited because you guys aren't done yet. You keep going, which is amazing. So I've always been curious about this, especially with music in particular. How do you know exactly when the song is ready to be released to the world? Is it just like you make the decision, it's ready, or is there like a build-up process to it's ready, let's release it?
I think it's that feeling of when we all can say without lying at all that we love the song.
Yeah.
If none of us have that feeling of I love this, it doesn't get released. And I think if once we all have that feeling that, once I'm not saying, oh, can we tweak this, or can you turn this up a little bit, or Alex is going, I don't like that snare hit right there. Can you take out that snare hit? Like, once all those little kinks are worked out and we can all listen to the mix and not judge it, then I think that's when we know it's ready.
Because I've always been interested by perfectionism, because myself, I'm a huge perfectionist when it comes to my art, and I used to be in business with someone with my other film business, which didn't go so well. But we always used to go, I don't like this. One of us didn't like something. It was always the case. So we're always going back and forth on how to actually make this work and just release it, So, and me in particular, I was the biggest perfectionist. Like, I'd pick the smallest little things and it would annoy and frustrate him. So I think for me, like, I want to learn some strategies from you guys, like all three of you, how you've been able to sort of remove, I guess, the perfectionism mindset throughout the art and just say, okay, we all agree on this. We're all honest. Let's remove it. Can you share some advice for me?
Yeah.
Right ahead, Alex.
Okay, so I'm the perfectionist of the three of us.
I knew it. There's always one.
I'm the one that makes us re-record TikToks 5 times. Actually, 5 times is way too little. But are you okay?
Yeah, you just.
Oh, okay. Are you laughing?
Yeah. No, I had water go down the wrong pipe. We're good.
No. Okay. I think back to like releasing something as a solo artist versus as a band. Like, I personally have recorded hours and hours of songs over the past 10 years. Not one of them has seen the light of day. And that's because I just keep it bottled in. And I think something about the collaborative nature of being in a band, like, even if just one of us, throws a song out to the rest of us, having that back and forth and like that confidence boost of like being in the studio, it's like, I don't know how I feel about that bass line. And then it's like, well, how about this note? Or like, no, dude, I really like that. Let's keep that in there. Like, having that positive feedback and like that just general support. Yeah. It just, the back and forth makes it so that whenever we do have something close to a finished product, like, a good marker is that all three of us feel something, like the perk of being in a band is like, maybe there's one writer, but there's also 2 listeners. So, with a very small sample size, if it sounds good. Yeah. I mean, with due respect, like perfectionism, like, how I see it, that's where I kind of come in, where after 5 takes of TikToks of just kind of like, okay, look, like, is this perfectionism warranted right now? Like, do we need to spend this much time on this right now? Because we only have so much time in each day. We're working jobs. We're doing this stuff. So when we're in the studio, when we're playing shows, when we're practicing for shows, the perfectionism is absolutely warranted. But, and it's great to do this stuff with all your effort. But the real
scenario is
sometimes you got to cut it.
You got to cut it. You just got to cut it.
If we're diminishing returns.
Like the other night, we were trying to make a couple TikToks, and Alex made us redo one like 4 times because the transition wasn't right on the beat or whatever.
Yeah, I'm the rhythm section. Come on,
and so
the beat. It's my job.
It's our jobs to go. Look, dude, it's fine. Like, relax.
We need to film 2 more TikToks after this.
Yeah.
Like, come on, we got to keep going. So, yeah.
I guess it's about priorities.
I feel you, man. I feel you guys. Like, yeah, I go through it as well with my writing, with my books and all that. Just, I'm sort of like, I'm always going over it and always editing it. I'm always my worst critic. So I just sort of have to take myself away from the equation and then come back at a later date and say, hey, that wasn't so bad. Like, in the moment when I was actually beating myself up about it, I was like, this sucks. But that's really good advice, especially from young guys. I'm a young person myself, so I needed to hear that. And if young people are listening to this as well, remove the perfection. The second last question I wanted to ask you guys, this is more of it might be a challenging one to answer, but we'll see how we go. But what has been the worst piece of advice you've ever received?
Ooh.
That's a good question. I would say there have been people who used to kind of work closely with us, and there would be a lot of pressure to always, like I said earlier about having to put on a face all the time. Just way too much pressure to do that. And if we weren't posting a certain amount of times a day, there was backlash from them. And it was just once, now that we're completely independent, we don't work with anybody at the moment. I realized how just toxic that can be, like not letting yourself have a break. And that's basically what these people were kind of having us do, is just go every day, all day without having a break. And it was very taxing.
The worst advice was definitely like, do you want to be the biggest band in the world? Just do exactly what I say. Like that's too much of a price to pay. Like you need to stay honest. Like you have to stay honest to yourself. And if you're just so focused on, advice, like a means to the end, like, I don't know. You just need to stay honest. I think that's all I'm trying to say.
Yeah. That advice came with conditions, didn't it? Like if you just do everything that I say and don't question it, then you'll be successful, so to speak. You'll be like one of the biggest bands in the world. Yeah. I don't think that's right. Like
it's not that you shouldn't trust other people. It's just like you have to trust yourself more.
Yeah. You should be able to question as well, I feel like, too.
Yeah.
Like you shouldn't just do everything that one person says. I mean, that's just, you don't have autonomy. You don't have freedom at all. So and especially when it comes to the creative space, like if you have something that you want to produce for yourself, or if you got an idea and you pitch it to them and they say, nah, that's not going to work in my grand plan to make you famous, like you're not being true to yourself at all. So it just becomes frustrating, and you just get in this, like, for you and for your own mental health sake, it's always best to just, I guess, separate yourself from that and go out on your own if you can. But I know some people don't. But yeah. Anyway, how about for you, Phil?
I would have to say, I don't know if it's specific advice as opposed to just, I went to school for music, both me and Thomas did. And over the culmination of my learning, it seemed that what was stressed is that more is better. And I don't agree with that. I think that there are times in which you need to be adamant about promoting your music. I think you need to promote your show. I think you should always be doing something. But that doesn't mean that the public necessarily needs to know that. There needs to be a bit of tension and release, because, no matter what, whether you're the most successful artist or you're not, like following up after that, you got to kind of generate some hype. So whenever I see artists out there just constantly just putting songs out and another song out next week and another song out next week, and then they're doing something else over here, it's like, dude, you're like, I almost don't care about you because of how much you're throwing in my face right now. You got to be very selective as to how you're going to promote your stuff, when you're going to promote it, and how you're going to hold yourself accountable to do so.
Because it loses meaning when it's so much.
Nobody, I mean, take every sequel that's ever come out in the past like 2 years, you know, like nobody cares.
Yeah.
It's just kind of what happens.
Yeah. It's a good point.
Yeah.
I haven't thought about that.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
All great pieces of advice for people to take away from, and hopefully they can apply it to their own life in some way, shape or form. So once again, appreciate you guys sharing. This is more of a fun question before I get to the final. I know I said 2 final questions, but I got to ask you this one anyway.
Ask away.
Before the final tough question, but what has been the weirdest food combination you've ever tried?
I was having an interesting night in New Orleans before we moved here, and I put M&M's, Cheez-Its, and Sriracha on a glazed donut.
That just got worse and worse and worse.
Dude.
And that is a true story.
M&M's, Cheez-Its. I had to do a double take.
Yeah.
You got to say that slowly next time.
Did I know you then?
The M&M's was a good move. The Cheez-Its, yes, you knew me. You knew me when I did that.
I'm so surprised I still know you.
Yeah, so that happened.
Do you regret it though?
I've had some. I don't know about food combos though. There was one night where I took like one of those frozen. I made frozen tacos and a hot pocket. And and the only thing that I had like frozen, you know, those frozen tacos that you can put in like the oven that you can get at the store, mini tacos. I got those, but I didn't have any like sauce to dip them in, and they were just so dry. All I had was Nutella.
Oh,
all I had was Nutella, and I did it, and it wasn't that bad. But I mean,
I don't think I've ever been to those dark places.
Yeah, no, that was rough. That was
wow.
rough. That was rough.
I don't have any like weird combinations. I can't think of any off the top of my head. I will say the most controversial is I regularly eat dry cereal next to a tall glass of milk. And everyone, I get so much flack for not just, putting them together. No, it ruins the integrity of both the cereal and the milk. You have to wait for it to mix in your body. I get so much bad feedback from that.
Oh my God.
How does that even work? So you eat the dry cereal, then you drink the milk.
Wash it down with the milk.
It's like a chaser.
Yeah.
It's like a chaser for cereal.
Yeah. I like alternating textures. I don't like mixing textures.
Okay. So you sound like the unadventurous type with food to me, which is totally fine.
I eat
totally fine. But all the rest of you, I mean, I cannot imagine what dry tacos and Nutella actually taste like. That's something I've got to try. Like I'm all for all this crazy stuff.
My stomach was just trying to decide like whether I'd just eaten something sweet or something salty. It was just kind of like, whoa, what's going on? What do we want?
I'm not sure if I would call y'all adventurous for doing that stuff. Though.
I would. My digestive system didn't agree. It definitely agrees with you, Alex, for sure.
Definitely brave. Well, I haven't done anything remotely close to that. I mean, here in Australia, what I love doing, and there's a cafe or a restaurant that you can go to. It's called Peanut Butter Bar. One of my favorite places to go. It's like literally everything that they have, peanut butter, man. Like it's absolutely glorious. So what I love doing is dipping chips or fries for you Americans in peanut butter with ice cream, and then washing it down with a milkshake. So with a caramel milkshake, man.
That actually.
Oh, a caramel. All right, now we're going.
Now we're talking, right? Like it is honestly insane. So if you ever want to try something that is off the chain, like good, give that a go.
Totally. That's the first place we're gonna go to.
Yeah,
in Sydney.
Good,
yeah, man. Like, let me know if you're ever in Sydney, and then I'll take you there. My treat for sure. So you can try it. We'll remember this conversation.
We will.
We're gonna take
remember it.
when we're on the road, we actually are we're kind of foodies whenever we're on the road, especially when we've been to places that we've never been before. And yeah, we'll definitely take you up on that for sure.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, I can't wait till you guys get out here in Australia. Before I ask you the final question, where can people find you, connect with you guys, and listen to your amazing music?
Literally everywhere. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok. We have our own phone number, 504-499-0750. You can text us directly. We respond. We're on Twitch, Discord. Yep. Patreon. Yeah. If people subscribe to our Patreon, for a small monthly fee, they get like behind the scenes content. They get handwritten letters from us and stuff like that. Anywhere else? We're on YouTube, obviously. Yeah.
Facebook.
I saw you said Facebook. I was sorry.
Deezer,
yeah, you can stream us on literally all streaming platforms too. Yeah. Pandora,
Napster. Hit us up on Napster.
We make it easy for y'all. We promise.
I did make a MySpace, and I also and we have a Reddit page too.
Oh my god, we have a Reddit page.
Yep.
MySpace is still around.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's actually super music based. Like a lot of people use it to network with music.
That's huge.
Musicians, so
I did not know that. How about that? That is pretty cool. I thought MySpace was dead.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
all this time
going on.
No, probably a gold mine that I'm missing out on too. Like,
yeah, check it.
My goodness. Okay, well, I'll make sure that everyone knows where to find you. Check out Lip Candy. You guys are everywhere. YouTube as well, which is where I listen to your songs too. So my final question for you guys is my all-time favorite question. It might be a difficult one to answer again, but we'll see how we go. It's a hypothetical one, but I want you all to imagine with me for a moment that you've been able to reach the age of 100. You're still young, I know, but just imagine with me. All your friends and your family have decided to put together a film for you of everything you've ever said and everything you've ever done. Don't ask me how in the world they got it all. We'll call it magic for the sake of argument. They found a genie somewhere and asked him, and they put it all together and shown it to you on your 100th birthday. What do you want that film to say and to show about your life?
Wow. I want it to show that I was a dreamer and I was a hard worker. And I didn't let anybody get in the way of that dream. And I never second guessed it or gave up on it. And regardless of, where this band ends up, I want the biggest takeaway to be, just that I went for it. Because at the end of the day, I think that's the most admirable thing about anybody, whether if you're an A-list celebrity or if, you're somebody who tried and gave up, like you still went for it. And so I think, that would be my biggest thing is I had a dream and I went for it.
Yeah, I would definitely say it's funny that you asked this question just because of the fact that I would always tell myself, to other people what I was doing and why I was doing music. Because I come from a family of lawyers. And me going this route was pretty left lane, if you will. But I would have really wanted to say that I just did it. I didn't, regardless of where my standing was with people, where I should have been, what I could have done. I don't care about any of that. I did it because I wanted to do it. And I always told myself if I was on my deathbed at the age of 100, the one thing that I would probably feel regret for is not giving it 100%. And I sound like Gary Vee right now, but it's 100%. It's I did it. I gave it everything I could have. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine.
You were prepared for that question.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was.
I want to just be able to look back and say that I was just genuine, that I wasn't trying to be something I wasn't. And, going back to doing it 100%, I wouldn't be able to do it 100% if I didn't genuinely feel like that's what I should be doing. yeah, I think that's about it. Like every interaction with someone, I just am trying very actively to just, you know, let me just be myself, and not like we live in LA. Like everyone's trying to be somebody.
Yeah.
And I guess I don't want to overgeneralize, but I hope I'm going against the grain there. And I just want to like, I don't know, not be disingenuous. Just double-minded.
Exactly.
I feel like that is a perfect way to wrap up this conversation. Thomas, Phillip, and Alex, Lip Candy, boys, thank you so much for your time today. All the amazing work you're doing out there in the world, and for coming on the Storybox podcast and sharing your incredible story with me and us, I guess.
It was a blast. We had a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah, it was a real pleasure.
Thank you so much.